Welcome back in. It's Football Frenzy here on Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Vinny Magliulo, Alex White, Chris Andrews. If you're watching on Property, we welcome you back in. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, we'll have the whole NFL card for you here on this record. So real quick, guys, just circling back to Indy and Tennessee. Chris, Colts are 4-point favorites on the road. They were underdog at home last week. We're all in agreement that we like the Tennessee side in this game.
Just think the Colts come back to earth a little bit. I think they're probably a little overrated with two home games, and they look very good. Shane Steichen is a good coach, getting the most out of Daniel Jones, but maybe that Daniel Jones that we've seen for the last 5-6 years is the real Daniel Jones. And, of course, Colts are going from a home dog to a road favorite. Michael Jack pointed me in that direction about 20 years ago to bet against those kind of teams. So I am going to do exactly that and take the dog in this one.
Well said. And I think getting over 3 is good value here with Tennessee. And they have been competitive. Cam Ward, it's been a tough task for him. Going to Denver, they were competitive against the Broncos, and then they had to host the LA Rams. So I like this 4 points here.
First road game for the Colts. They escaped last week. They get a reprieve on the penalty at the end of the game. The leverage, the ever popular leverage call, up to 4. Boy, tricky spot.
We're unanimous on that one. Atlanta and Carolina, we can be quick on this game. I mean, Chris, Falcons were dominant on defense last week. Now they face an offense that has really struggled through the first 2 weeks. But it is kind of scary to see the Falcons almost pushing 6 on the road, a 5.5-point favorite with a total of 43.5.
I don't think much of Carolina. I don't think anybody with any rationality does. But that just seems, like you said, Jeff, a little bit scary, laying points with Atlanta on the road. And, my numbers came a little lower. I'm looking at 3.5, 5.5, probably be, gun to my head, I would take the dog, but that's probably it's not going to be on my list this week.
For me, I really like the under in this game. Under 44, if you can find any out there, we are moving down to 43.5, but really impressed with Atlanta's defense through 2 games. Held the Bucs to 23 and then the Vikings to 6, and I think the Panthers are going to struggle here in this one. I also like that the Falcons are really running the ball, 4th most in the NFL through 2 weeks and averaging 144 rushing yards per game. So eat up some clock here. They did it Monday night or Sunday night as well. So, yeah, give me the under.
You're right, Alex. One of the best running back tandems in the league. If their defense plays with that kind of intensity, it's going to be difficult for the Panthers. I've said before, there's certain teams we're not going to know their identity until October. I think we know the Panthers' identity already.
Oh, man. All right, 5.5 on the Falcons for that one. All right. Well, the nature of the NFL beast. A lot of backup quarterbacks, even though it's only week 3. We're going to have as many as 5 playing this week, and one of them, and arguably, other than Burrow, the highest profile one, Jaden Daniels, Friday morning. Dan Quinn rules him out. Marcus Mariota is now in. The market had kind of already baked it in that he wasn't going to play.
Right.
We're at 3 right now, Chris, with the Commanders laying it with Mariota against the Raiders, a total of 43.5 in Landover.
Oh, man. Kind of, I would say I like the Raiders a little bit in this spot, plus the 3. Tough game, though. Mariota, I know he's not great, but he is a veteran. He's been around. Used to play for the Raiders. I don't know. I still... Commanders, probably because of last year, all of a sudden have a little bit better of a home field advantage than I never thought they had for a long, long time. But I'd probably like the Raiders in this spot, but nothing serious for me.
I'm thinking about playing the Raiders team total over, and I think there's some 20.5s out there. And I don't think Geno Smith is as bad as what we saw on Monday night. I think that was more to do with the Chargers defense. Defensively, the Raiders have been way better than we expected. We thought it would just be all offense, but opponents converting just 32% of third downs, same exact 33 for red zone scoring. So I'm impressed with their defense. I don't know what we're going to get from Washington. Kind of want to just keep them out of it. I like the full game over before the Jaden Daniels news. So I might just go after the Raiders. I think they are going to make some changes. I like what I saw from them week 1 against the Patriots. So just kind of aiming at their offense here.
Commanders with a more difficult schedule this year than a year ago. Eckler is out too, I think. In fact, I think they lost Eckler for the season. The thing that concerns me about the Raiders, their offensive line. I mean, that contributed to a lot of difficulties last week. Bauer's not 100% too, so Raider backers kind of beware along those lines. They've got to get some things sorted out on the offensive line for sure.
Jackson Powers Johnson.
Excuse me, I just got a message here. Bauer's upgraded the probable.
Okay, so he'll be in after playing not 100% last week against the Chargers. I really like the Commanders in this game with the backup quarterback. This feels like just the classic, like you have all the Raiders people excited going in. Like I have a feeling you'll get inundated on Sunday morning with Raider money, especially from the public. I use
4 on my ties win card, so guess what I'm going to need there.
Yeah, but I really like Washington at 3. I as good as Jaden Daniels is, because Chris, we 7.5 before the injury was announced, right? Something in that pocket, right?
Something like that, yeah.
As good as he is, I'm not so certain that's a 4.5 point difference from him to Mariota at this point. Maybe later in the year, sure, but I like Washington a whole lot. I like him a little too much, which kind of frightens me a little bit, laying the 3. All right, let's go to Cleveland next. Packers play their first road game after back-to-back dominant showings at home to start their season. And Chris, they're 7.5 point favorites at Cleveland. Browns should have won week 1 against the Bengals. They were competitive until they started turning the ball over last week in Baltimore. 7.5, 41.5 first road game for Green Bay. Kind of a weird one here for the Packers, right?
I don't want to say it's way too high numbers-wise, but psychologically, that's way too high. Listen, like I said, anything over 3 is a mountain to climb. Now you're going over 7. That's a mountain and a half to climb, especially on the road. Yeah. Maybe Green Bay. Listen, I think right now they're penciled in as one of the best teams in the NFL. But man, 7.5 on the road to a team that plays some pretty decent defense. That just looks too high to me. You got to play the dog or pass in this game.
Kind of leaning to what you're saying, where I do think the Browns defense can show up in this. I don't think Joe Flacco is the answer for the entire year here for them. It's been a struggle through 2 weeks, but I'm really impressed with the Packers defense. We always say defense travels. Right now, 4th in opponent points per game, 3rd in opponent yards per game. I think the Browns are going to struggle. So I'm looking for full game under, or maybe the Browns team total under in this one. Then I can stay away from that point spread altogether.
One of the lower totals of the weekend. And by the way, that the people that took 8.5 and 8, not your casual fan.
You don't think so, Vinny?
I'm just with you on the psychological aspect of this. Like, yeah, Green Bay is a lot better than Cleveland. There's no arguing that. I'm not sure how Cleveland's going to be able to block that defensive front for the Packers, but we're talking week 3. And it's now like 7.5 on the road in the National Football League. Ooh, that's a lot of points to be covering. But hey, Green Bay is more than capable of it with what we've seen through 2 weeks. All right, backup bowl in Minneapolis. We lose Joe Burrow for 3 months at least with that toe injury. He had surgery earlier this week. It went successfully, which again, if it doesn't go successfully, then that's obviously a disaster, but how often do we hear that? Jake Browning, who I'd forgotten about this. Yeah. Jake Browning, remember 2 years ago when Burrow got hurt, Jake Browning against this Minnesota Viking team that released him earlier played great and then had that energetic outburst on the sideline of that's why you don't bleep and release me. Yeah. Here you go. Carson Wentz, old friend, is starting for Minnesota in this game. 3 with the Vikings. In this one, a total of 42.5.
I really like Browning. And just in my head, I was going through, now forget contracts and all this other stuff. If you were looking at just how he plays on the field, this guy could start for a lot of teams in the NFL. And I mean an awful lot of them. You think Chicago wouldn't like that? I'm sorry, Brian. You think Chicago wouldn't like to have the performance that I think we're expecting out of Browning? Now, I got to tell you, I like the dog here. Another thing, I've been kind of keeping some weird, I don't want to call it weird, but some different defensive statistics this year. Now we're 2 weeks in, but a couple teams jumped out. One is Cincinnati. Their defense and, the big knock on them last year, certainly they had one of the worst defenses in the NFL, maybe the worst. But so far, they're playing pretty good. And I said, we're 2 weeks into the season. I don't want to jump any. Let's not jump them to the top of the list. This is not the 85 Bears. But right now, they're playing pretty good defense. And I really like Browning. And I got to tell you, I like Cincy in this spot.
Jags and Colts? Who? Yeah. That's
Jags and Browns.
for Bengals, Jags and Browns. Okay.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had
it's
the
not
two
exactly
right, but I knew I
Baltimore
didn't.
and Buffalo and blah, blah, blah. But so far, so good. I mean, just something to keep an eye on.
I'm kind of on the other side in the sense of defense. And I think Brian Flores is a great defensive coordinator. So I think I'll have a good plan here for Jake Browning. On the other side, have not been impressed with JJ McCarthy yet, and I'm not writing him off, but I haven't been that impressed. And I don't think there's a drop off really from him to Carson Wentz. I'm still impressed with Kevin O'Connell and the quarterbacks that he has found ways to win with. I know that doesn't mean they're going to cover this number, but I like the Vikings to win in one way or another. So maybe I'll just avoid that. Go money line here, minus 155.
Two veterans, right? Wentz sets a record, I think.
He does.
Yes.
He will be the first
For
quarterback to
the-
ever play for 6 different
There you
teams
go.
in 6 seasons.
There
Is that
you go.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, how's that? Both guys more than capable.
start for him.
To start, yeah.
Check injuries. Vikings are pretty banged up. I know that, but yeah, this your field goal game here, and it did open 4, but they took it down to 3. But I think there'll be some Vikings money, even with both backups in.
I mean, there's a ton of injuries on Minnesota's defense still, too. I have no idea. If you told me Minnesota put Browning in hell and he threw 3 interceptions and Minnesota won like 20-6,
Oh,
sure. If you told me Cincinnati actually handled it pretty well and they won the game kind of like Atlanta did last week, where they make Minnesota's offense look bad, yeah, I could see it. Which means it's a stay off for this one. It's perfect. Three with your classic 3 at home, Chris. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect for this game.
I just like Browning. I always liked him.
Mm-hmm. He's great at Washington as well. All right, let's go to the game of the early window. Philadelphia hosts the Rams. Why is this not like the premium game this week? 3.5, Chris. There's some 3. There was some 3 as well. 44.5 on this one. Of course, Eagles laying it at home.
Well, my number's coming to 2.5 in this game. And told you I was keeping some different defensive statistics. Well, the top of the list right now is the Rams. No real surprise when you see, and part of it's who they played. Of course, we're 2 weeks into the season. But I think this Ram team is legit offensively. Stafford, I don't know why he doesn't get mentioned with the top quarterbacks nearly enough. He's got 2 excellent receivers, and the defense playing the way they are. 3 to me is a take, and there's 3.5s in the market. You might have to lay a little juice. Of course, if the South Point gets to 3.5, you won't have to lay extra juice there. But anything above 3, I mean, I'm gonna take 3 in this game if I have to. But this is definitely a side that I like an awful lot here. I think this Rams team is really, really good, and Philly. I mean, yeah, they're terrific. But I don't know. I mean, you're just not going to win every week. It's just not the way it works in the NFL.
Philly's offense has been very underwhelming to start out the season, but their defense has been pretty good. With that being said, I kind of like the over. I made it higher, and I know we're not in mid-season form, but as good as the Eagles' defense is, I think the Rams are going to score, and I think it's going to force the Eagles to do something besides run the football. So we saw it last year, back and forth in the playoffs, and I think we're going to get that again here. So I'm leaning to the dog with 3.5, but not confident about that side. But I think I like the over here at 44.5.
Rams to win, have to press the action, pass the ball, right? Get downfield, try to force the Eagles, to open up things, and that's what I think you'll see, Alex. You're good. I agree with you.
This is a pure number take more so than anything, too. I'm with you, Chris. Like, you're not going to win every week in the NFL. I mean, the only time the Eagles have lost in their last 16 games was the game Hurts got hurt. So that's an insane stretch that the Eagles are on right now, including the postseason. So this feels like a field goal game one way or another. I'm not going to pick a winner, but very happy to take 3.5 with Los Angeles on the road in this one. And that Matthew Stafford guy can still play. I know we were worried about that back all off season, but he looked pretty good so far.
Remember, I told you I know a guy who knows a guy that told me.
And the guy knew that the back is okay.
Yeah, the one guy in the link in the chain said the back was okay.
And I want to piggyback on something Alex said earlier this week. Puka Nacua could very easily end up winning Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL. He's off to a tremendous.
Who's the other guy they got?
Well, that Devontae Adams is pretty
he
good
ain't
too.
bad either.
He's
Yeah,
pretty, as a number 2, he's pretty damn good. Chris.
That's two pretty good receivers with a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, and a top 5 coach. Not bad.
Yeah.
That the Rams have. There's Nacua right now, 4th favorite in this one over at DK. Only Henry, Barkley, and Bijan with shorter odds for the Offensive Player of the Year. All right, let's go to New England. Chris, you got to help us out here because the Steelers and the Patriots are both 1-1. Both teams lost their home games. Both teams won their road games because, of course, they did. Steelers are 1.5 point favorites in this one. Total 44.5. Floor's yours.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I made the Steelers 2.5. Well, I don't know. I mean, I said from the beginning of the year, the key to this Pittsburgh team, Rodgers, whatever, was going to be the offensive line. They have so much draft capital invested in that. It has not come to fruition yet. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to protect Rodgers. Now, the defense so far has not been good.
Mm-mm.
I expect that to be corrected. I really do. I think that will work itself out. I made the number 2.5. I mean, I guess gun to my head, I'd take the Steelers, but most certainly not crazy about it.
Well, what you guys always say, you guys have to book them all. We don't have to bet them all. I'm going to stay off of this, but I'm close to you. I think I've got the Steelers 2 on the road here.
The defense is what's concerning, I think, in these first couple of games, Chris. I agree with you there. And Drake May gets better every game he plays. So, but the public, we're going to need the Patriots in this game. There's no doubt about it.
TJ Watt is on his on the career-long streak of games without a sack at 6. That has coincided with the Steeler defense falling off a cliff at the end of last year and not playing well to begin this year. So they need their best player to get going on the defensive
their
side.
record without TJ is abysmal.
Yeah.
The record without him making a sack ain't very good either. So,
Yeah, they need to get their best defensive player going if they're going to turn this ship around. By the way, Pittsburgh goes to Ireland next week, so
I know some people going to that game.
You know what? It'd be a heck of a time. Minnesota, by the way, we forgot to mention, plays back-to-back weeks in Europe, so there you go, starting next week. All right, let's go to Tampa Bay. That is not Europe. That's Florida. The Jets take on the Bucs. Justin Fields is out with a concussion, and the market thinks so much of him that they bet the Jets down from 7 to 6.5 in this game with Tyrod Taylor starting for New York. Tampa, despite being 2-0 the last 4 years, has not gotten to 3-0 in any of those seasons. So they've had a hard time stringing together 3 straight to begin the year. 6.5, 43.5 your number for this one, Chris.
I don't think they get the 3-0 this time either. I like the Jets here. This is definitely going to be one of my plays. I like the Jets plus the 6.5. They're not bad. I see them, and Tyrod Taylor is every bit as good as Fields. When they announced the thing out, and I remember telling my guys, "Don't move it." There's no difference between these two. I mean, I think Tyrod Taylor's been a decent number 2 quarterback throughout his career. I mean, matter of fact, that one year he had Justin Fields beat out to be Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
He had beat out to be the starting quarterback till he got hurt like the day before the game, the day of the game.
Oh, that was the medical staff's fault in LA for that.
Punctured his lung,
Punctured his lung with
a needle. I think he's fine, and I like the way I like this, and the Tampa Bay's they're a gutty team, and we can say that about Mayfield, and he'll probably have something to make a big run at the end of the game or whatever. But I'm taking a dog here plus the points. Tampa might win this game, but I'm definitely on the Jets here in this one.
I do think it is a lot of points, even for me, who's pretty high on Tampa Bay. But I don't have anything strong in this one. I think it might just be a take of the number at 6.5, even though I've got the Bucs at least 7.5 in this one.
Vinny, you always mention injuries. I'm looking at the injury report on Friday, and Tampa's injury report is a train wreck.
Yes.
No Wirfs. He's out. Godwin is still out. Ibuka is now questionable, which is a big deal because he's been arguably their best player through the first two games. Those they haven't had Wirfs to begin with anyway. They're also down Godeke as well, and Clancy is out for the year, so they're banged up, and it's week 3.
You can't keep coming down to the last possession to win games. And again, I know it's a small sample size so far. For the Jets, they're their own worst enemy. I'm not going to take anything away from the Steelers. I'm not going to take anything away from the Bills, who are exceptional. But the Jets last year led the league in stupidity. I mean, think about it, right? Penalties, penalty yards, turnover. I mean, they've picked up right where they left off. When you look at what they've done these first couple of games, at some point, I think that has to right itself. So I could see the take on with the points.
Let's go to the AFC South for the final 10 a.m. game out here on the West Coast. Boy, Jacksonville is so close to making this a 2-0 versus an 0-2. Instead, Jaguars give up the late touchdown to Browning, and they fall to 1-1. Houston, I don't want to say the Texans have been unlucky, but it kind of feels like they've been unlucky through the first 2 games. They were dead even with the Rams, but couldn't block in the end, and they lose by 5. And I thought they were the better team than Tampa for the majority of Monday, and they found a way to lose, and they're 0-2. Chris, 1.5 with the Jags at home, a total 44.5. A desperate 0-2 team in an even matchup.
I like Houston too.
Yeah,
it's not enough for me to play. I know you talked about last week. Pro Football Focus has Houston the worst offensive line. Is that still? I haven't. I don't have their service, but I think
we'll have to look into that.
I haven't seen much
going into the year, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen much too. And I think that was really what happened to C.J. Stroud last year. Is that offensive line really let him down? I don't know. I mean, right now, C.J. looks more like last year's quarterback than he did 2 years ago. I don't know. I have my worries about C.J. I do still really like him, and I think it's a little early to tell, certainly for this year, and I think he had a good excuse for last year. But I don't know. I probably take Houston or pass in this game, but I really have no opinion at all.
This one I like. I like Houston in this spot with the desperation spot, getting a 1.5. I actually just like them on the money line to win this game outright. If the Jags beat me, so be it. But so far we've seen them beat the Panthers and the Bengals.
Right.
And I lost to the Bengals. What am I talking about? At the last second. But they were competitive with them. But I don't know. So I think this is a huge test for them. I think Houston's defense is really good. We saw the struggles for Tampa last week, and that's the only thing I would kind of fight you on, Jeff, is Tampa was definitely the better team on the ground, and we saw Bucky Irving, and they did get a lot of rushing yards against them, so makes me a little bit nervous with ETN. But I like the Texans. I made them the favorite here, so I'm going to trust my numbers.
I'll say it for the 3rd straight week. Texans mixing.
Yeah.
Big difference in their offense.
That would cure some of those offensive line woes too.
Definitely. So
Chubb is just not the same guy anymore.
And the Jags have been rushing the ball too. I mean, they made the trade earlier or last week. I think the Jags here. I think they're going to continue to get played.
I guess I'll wait then.
Yeah.
I think so.
On Houston. All right. We're gonna look at the premium. Even though it's not in the premium time slot, it's the best game at a late window here before skipping ahead to some primetime games. Let's go to the Chargers and the Broncos. We were a leverage away from this being 2-0 against 2-0. It was the right call, even though it is what it is. Chargers, boy, their defense this past week against the Raiders they were excellent. They made Geno Smith just so confused on Monday night at Allegiant Stadium. Denver, one game of dominant defense, one game their defense did not play well against Indianapolis last week. And Bo Nix scares the hell out of me, Chris. It just was awful.
Scares the hell out of Sean Payton, too.
Yeah. It was awful in week 1. And then last week when Denver had the ball, they get a touchdown. They put that game away in the 4th quarter. And Nix throws an awful interception on 3rd down when they're in field goal range. And in the end, it ends up costing them. Chargers are 2.5 in this one, total 46.5 in L.A.
Well, I made it 3, and so I guess I would tell you I would like the Chargers in this spot, which I kind of do. I do like the Chargers. I'm not sure we've adjusted the market enough for just how good this Charger team is. I talked a lot about Harbaugh, talked a lot about Herbert. I haven't talked that much about their defense. Their defense, like I said, I'm keeping some defensive stats. They don't quite make the top three, and I'm going to mention my third in a minute. They don't quite make my top three, but they're playing really good defense. I think this team, this is a team to be reckoned with. I mean, I don't know if they're as good as Baltimore and Buffalo, and I don't know who else, but they're right there. They're right there. And if Harbaugh, listen, I've said it a couple of times. If he can take Kaepernick to the Super Bowl, he can certainly take Herbert to the Super Bowl. I think his team's really, really good, and still at this point slightly underrated. I only made it 3. It's not like I made this number 6.5.
Sure,
but I made the number 3. I would take the Chargers, I think, in this spot.
We could make an argument that the Chargers defense is better than both Buffalo and Baltimore.
Oh, for
Especially
sure. Yeah.
The Bills, who have given up quite a few points, but it will be interesting to see how they do. I'm leaning a little bit to the Broncos just because I've got the Chargers 2 here at home. If I see a 3, I think it's worth taking just with the desperation, the fact that the Chargers are on their 3rd straight division game. I think all of that kind of helps Denver. I think Sean Payton will be ready for this matchup, so I think a field goal is worth a lot in this matchup.
The thing that's impressed me about the Chargers defense is the speed. And again, no Khalil Mack. He got hurt in the Raider game, so he's going to miss some time. I'm a little surprised that this game has been bet over, considering these two defenses. When you look at it, I mean, this game's got a higher total than the Packers-Browns game. And I guess that's attributed to the Browns' offense. But the fact that this game has been bet over, I think at some point there'll be some money to come in on the under with these two defenses.
Tend to agree with you, Vinny. This should be a really, really high-end game. And the Chargers are looking to go 3-0 in the AFC West to begin the year as well.
Yeah.
That is another factor where, boy, you start 3-0 and you have the hammer on everybody. You're in division.
3 straight division games.
Pretty good place to be heading into the final weekend of September. All right, we're going to shift ahead. We'll get back to the later afternoon games in a few moments, but let's skip ahead here to Sunday Night Football. And Chris, here's case number 2 of what we talked about earlier of going from a home dog to a road favorite. And boy, have they been wanting to bet this road favorite here on Sunday Night Football. Kansas City at the New York Giants. It's 6. There's even some 6.5 in the market on this game, a total of 45.5. Giants are coming off of just an absolutely absurd loss, even by their standards, last week against the Cowboys in overtime.
Well, I like the Giants a lot in this spot for the one reason, like you said, a home dog going to the road favorite. But beyond that, the first week we did this show, well, for the NFL week, I said Kansas City's going to have a disappointing year. That doesn't mean they're going to be 3-14, but so far they're 0-2, and they could have won that second game, certainly against Philadelphia. But I think this team, you just blanket bet against them every week. Not that I'm recommending you do that, but I think if you were doing that, well, so far you'd be 2-0. And I think you'd be 3-0 after this week because I like the Giants in this game, and I think they have a great chance to win this game outright. Everybody's looking for Kansas City to get right, but I've seen this over the years. Forget betting against the Super Bowl loser. I've also seen the team that's, listen, we saw them on the downhill slide last year.
Yep.
They're continuing that this year. And everybody's waiting for them to, we'll see the same team they were 2 years ago. Don't count on it. And I like the Giants in this spot. Not so much a number play, but 6 at home. This is going to be a tough game for Kansas City. I like the Giants here.
Well, especially, with the Chiefs, they don't have all the offensive weapons there for Patrick Mahomes. So I was even guilty of backing them last week against the Eagles, and it's just an uphill battle for them. I think 6 is too many points. I'm with you. I like the Giants here in this spot. Especially, they've been very competitive. Mm-hmm. They were very competitive last game against the Cowboys there.
Public will be on the Chiefs because they don't think they can go 0-3, and professionals will wait to get as many points as possible, to Chris's point, with the Giants.
The only caveat I'll throw out there with Kansas City, if Travis Kelce doesn't just drop a touchdown into almost a pick 6, it's a different ball game last week. They're 1-1. They're more likely than now 1-1, but Alex's point is the key here. They just don't have the weapons. They just don't have and Rice is suspended, we know, and of course, still Worthy dealing with that shoulder injury. All right, let's go to Monday night. Vinny, I want your thoughts here. Lions and Ravens, what an amazing game to close out week 3. 4.5 here at the South Point with a total of 53. Baltimore, of course, favorite at home.
Yep, total being bet over. No real shock with these two teams, right? Every fantasy player in the world is waiting for this game. And so, but we've seen the points being taken here with the Lions. They took 6, everything down to 4.5 because it looks like they got right last week. I tell you what, they got right against a team that is in transition, still trying to figure out. Their quarterback is, I'm a little surprised at the coaching in Chicago. It goes to show you that even when coordinators get into that head coaching role, there's a lot to learn. It's some of the play calling, some of the going for it on 4th down and things like that. But all of that said, did the Lions really get on track last week? They opened it up a little bit. Yeah, probably. Yeah, they certainly were better than they were the week before. The week before, they almost looked disinterested.
Yeah.
But here are the Ravens, and again, what we've seen with the Ravens, and at home, is no lead is safe with them. As good as they are, defensively too. We saw what happened with Buffalo, but we've seen it happen over the last few years. So no real shock that the points have been taken here with the Lions. But I think there'll be support for both of these teams, and this is going to be a good game. Everybody's going to be involved in it betting-wise, and it's a great game to book.
Can't wait to watch this one. Yeah. I made the number 4.5, so I really have no opinion. When it opened 6, I definitely like the dog. I think the value's been taken out of the number now, down all the way to 4.5. But, listen, Baltimore, I think, is the better team. I think they are playing. Obviously, they are playing at home. I got to give a little bit for that. But this Detroit team can score. And I thought Campbell would kind of figure some things out after a disastrous week 1. But, the team's good. I think they still have, I said it before, they might have the best 53-man roster in the league. And I maintain that. Probably 4.5, gun to my head, I would take it. But that's exactly what I made the number.
We'll give our thoughts on Monday.
I'm just going to throw one thing out there. With this, Lamar Jackson owns the NFC.
He does.
He owns the NFC.
Absolutely.
He only has 2 career losses, 24-2 in games he started against the NFC. So he has owned them. And Detroit, we saw it indoors last week. They're back outside again. Those are 2 factors that I'm looking at. I think I might be foreshadowing what I'm going to look at on Monday.
Might be a little bit of Mr. Conservative, though, against Mr. Aggressive.
Well.
So we'll see.
See how it plays out on Monday. All right, we're going to take a short break because we still have 3 games we need to cover from the Sunday afternoon part of the schedule. And Chris Andrews will say what he likes in the National Football League when we get back. It's Football Frenzy on Sports by the Book. Welcome back in Sports by the Book. Football Frenzy on a Friday. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Chris Andrews. A few more games for us to get to. And, of course, Chris's looks in the NFL this weekend, which I know everyone's excited for that, to hear what Chris is on in the NFL.
2-1 last week.
Yeah,
that gets the dough.
Very consistent. Very consistent. 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5. We'll take that every single week.
Yeah, I would.
We'll take that every week. All right, let's go to maybe not the sexiest game on the board, but this one's an interesting one in the marketplace where the Seattle Seahawks, who come off of a win on the road in Pittsburgh last week, and you know what? They took full advantage of a ridiculous special teams gaffe by rookie Caleb Johnson on the Steelers, but you know what? You got to take advantage of the breaks in this league, as we know. Chris, 7.5 on the Seahawks against the Saints. Saints 0-2, but more competitive than I think we imagined through 2 games. There is some 7 in the market as well on this one. So this is a shopper here in this one, 41.5 the total.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 7.5, and I think I like 7 a little better, but we got to go by the action in this game. I don't know. I mean, Seattle's another team. I think that they come back to earth a little bit. I don't know exactly how good they are. But that being said, I'm not sure how good New Orleans is either. I think at the beginning of the year, I had them penciled in as the worst team in the NFL. since then, I think Carolina's probably usurped that crown. But, it looks a little too high to me in a game that, maybe not going to get Seattle's best ever, because they've certainly played very well so far this year. But I kind of like the dog a little bit in this spot.
It's hard, right? Because, making the numbers, giving Seattle some home field advantage, it comes out to 7.5. But do I really think they're worthy of being this high of a favorite against the Saints? So I'm with you. I would kind of lean to the dog here. I do think the Saints have been competitive. I like what I've seen from Seattle's defense. They have played really well, but might be a little flat in this one.
Well, excuse me, but if anybody's still playing bingo from that old show that I used to do,
diminishing returns.
Diminishing returns, so put that on your bingo card. Anything over 7, it's just, my power ratings actually come to 8.5, just like in the Green Bay game. My power ratings a lot higher than what it. The diminishing returns, like I said, NFL teams, if they can walk out of there with a 3-point win, they're happy as can be, man. You think Buffalo's not happy? They won by 10, of course. Well, they got to win, in the division and all that. God bless.
I brought it up on a morning show with Buffalo. Buffalo could very easily actually rattle off 12, 13 to begin the season with the way their schedule is. I'll just say this with the Seattle-New Orleans game. I'm very concerned about Rattler going on the road for the first time this year. I'm also concerned that he's going to that environment against that defense. I think Seattle is a great teaser position down to 1.5 this week if you want to go that direction. They weren't
a great home team last year.
Oh, I understand. And they lost their only home game so far this year. But I would be floored if Seattle lost this game. This also is probably going to be the top Survivor play of the week, and Survivor has had virtually no blood through 2 weeks. No. So at some point we're going to have a week where half the field gets eliminated. Yeah. We know that, but I would be surprised if Seattle's the one that does it here with losing as a big favorite. All right, let's go to Chicago. Boy, it has been as bad of a start as you could have drawn up for the Bears, because it looked pretty reasonable for 3 quarters. You're in total command against the Vikings. You're set up for a field goal to go up 2 touchdowns. Cairo Santos misses that kick, and boy, it has been awful since then. Get embarrassed in Detroit last week, and now coming a call on her to Dallas Cowboys, who, look, their defense has a ton of problems. Both of these teams are battered defensively, injury-wise. Both teams missing multiple starters and multiple secondary guys this week. That's why you see a 50 on the total. Chris, Dallas is a 1-point road favorite. I don't know how you can bet the side in this game, just knowing the unknown nature of what type of effort are we getting out of Chicago at 0-2 with how ugly it's been for 5 quarters now.
Yeah, I made the number 0.5 is what my power ratings come to. Let's put it right between the pick and a 1, which is exactly where the number's at. I will say this, after looking at Caleb Williams and reading up a lot about him, because I'm very interested in him and the coach with Ben Johnson, who I, along with everybody in the NFL, thinks very highly of. He better change some habits, and I talked about he goes back, he wants to play quote unquote hero ball every play. It's not the way the NFL works. NFL's rhythm. You better get that ball out in 2 seconds. You hold that ball for 2.5 seconds, you're getting sacked. And I know the scouts look at a guy, fades back, and makes that unbelievable throw. They're all over it. But a coach sits there and says, that's a sack. Forget the throw. That's a sack. And I think Caleb Williams, maybe they're not getting sacked, but he's running around doing all that. And I said from the beginning, that could be coached out of you. Well, not yet. And I don't know if it's going to be coached out of him. What's he at, like 18 games, 19 games into his career? He's got to start paying attention to how the NFL works. It's a lot different than ball that he played in college and in high school and all that. He's not the baddest guy on the planet when he's out there. He's one of 53 guys, and probably 40 of them are just as good, as athletic as he is. So I don't know. I'm going to tell you this. I'll be rooting for Chicago because all the money's on Dallas in this one. But I think he's got to wake up. He really does. And I think he has the potential to do that. But he's got to actually go out and do it.
It's really tough. Look at that spread right there, and even the money line. It is a coin flip, and I do believe that. Now, I did have Chicago as the favorite at home here against the Cowboys, but I got to add in the cluster injuries that we talk about, and they definitely do have some on the defensive side. So it's a lean to the Bears here, backs against the wall, 0-2 to start the season. We saw it with the Dolphins last night, right? They're going to give it their all here, and They are at home, so I would lean to the Bears.
No idea. I have absolutely no clue in this game. If you told me that the only thing that would surprise me is if Chicago blew Dallas out. That would surprise me. But close game either way, Dallas wins in a rout, wouldn't shock me. I just don't think the Bears have it in them to rout anyone at the current moment. But we'll see. Even though it's a 50 also, I think this is probably a good over because of these injuries on both sides, on both defenses are pretty brutal. Deron Bland, the biggest one out for the Cowboys, and of course Jalen Johnson's season is over, as we know, on the Bears side. All right, let's go to San Francisco. It's kind of weird. The Niners and the Cardinals are 2-0, and it feels like this game has no juice. It's very strange. The reports on Brock Purdy are a lot more positive than we expected. It looks like he has a real shot of playing. The market did bet San Francisco on that news that came down on Thursday afternoon. Cardinals are 2-0. Niners are 2-0. Totals 46.5 in this one, with the Niners as 3-point home favorites.
Well, without Purdy, I liked Arizona in this game, and I was keeping some stats, defensive stats, and I'll share them with you guys later. I'm not ready to share them with the public yet.
Sure.
But the three teams that kind of jumped out were the Rams, Cincinnati, easy skin, and the third one was Arizona. And they've had a fairly easy schedule so far too. But still, the numbers are the numbers, and so far they've been pretty impressive defensively. But I got to tell you, with Purdy in the game, I think that number 3 is way too cheap. Maybe you want to wait till we get closer to game time, make sure that he is in. If he's not, Mac Jones played well, and he's okay. But he's not Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's still underrated because of where he was drafted, et cetera, et cetera. But I think if Purdy's in the game, to me, the Niners are a play. But I think you got to wait and make sure, because right now it's just he's probable. Is he probable at 100% or 75%, 80? What is it? So I think you got to kind of wait a little bit. If he's playing and healthy, I think Niners are the play.
It's funny you said that, because I was comparing the offensive and defensive numbers between these two teams, and Arizona did pop, right? Just holding their opponents to 4.6 yards per play. Really good against quarterbacks, just a 61% passing completion in the first two. But it was the Saints and the Panthers. So we can keep an eye on it, but don't know how much. I don't really trust the Cardinals for a full game yet. They tried to let both of those teams come back and win in the fourth quarter. So I like Shanahan. I like the Niners. As long as they have CMC, I think they're always going to be competitive. And with that, we know what they want to do. They want to run the rock. So I like the Niners here at home.
I'm staying out of this. I want to see what happens with Purdy, because I'm with you. If Purdy's in, feels cheap. Mm-hmm. If Purdy's out, well, then you got yourself a bad number.
Well, I think he's out. With him out, I made the number 2.5.
Okay, so it's not a huge
downfall, but you'd want to be under that 3.
I'm also curious for Arizona, how much, they played New Orleans and Carolina. Yeah. They played 2 of arguably the 3 worst teams in the NFL the first 2 weeks. So how much of that is because they played awful teams? Niners, look, their defense. Robert Saleh is a defensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. And that defense has looked awfully good, especially in that Seattle game so far through 2 games. All right, Chris. Before we go, last week, a 2-1 week, and it should have been 3-0, quite frankly. Even though, in all honesty, you could argue you should have lost the Colts one and you should have won Arizona.
I know. That's the NFL. We're going to go through this every week.
Yeah. So
just make sure you try to get a good number is all I can tell you.
So what are we looking at here in the NFL here, Chris?
Excuse me. I've got 4 games I like this week. I like Tennessee +4. I like the Rams +3.5. Make sure you get that 3.5.
Yep.
I like the Jets +6.5. And the Giants put me down for +6 because I really don't see much 6.5 out there. But you'll probably get a 6.5 come Monday night, or Sunday night. But give me +6. 4 dogs in the NFL, and Jeff, you talked about 3-1 and 3 out of 5. If I could sign up for 3-1 this week, I'll take that right now.
Yeah, even a 2-1-1 feels
2-1-1 wouldn't be bad.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm so interested to see, and we talked about it earlier, I'm so interested to see how that Giant-Chief game ends up moving, because especially if favorites have another big day, Chris, which they've been having a lot of big days over the last year plus.
Yeah.
Wonder how high that thing gets on Kansas City on Sunday night.
Well, it's funny. John Murray, our friend from over at the Westgate, I think he said it right. I think he said it last year, maybe early this year. He says, really, the NFL comes down to 3 different markets. You have the morning games, then you have the afternoon games, then you have the Sunday night game. And sometimes they're correlated and sometimes they're not. They're all over the place. So it's almost like booking 3 different days on an NFL Sunday.
Be a lot of fun, as it always is. Great
Speak
weekend.
for yourself.
For a lot of great football coming your way this weekend. We are all back on Monday and on the regular show, 10 a.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday here on the channel at Sports by the Book. Alex and I are live. Chris, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say a lot of guys asked me for my college plays. I was 6-1 last week in the college. I don't want to post them before the Westgate contest closes at 5 o'clock. So around 5 or shortly after, I will post on my Twitter account, the 7 games that I played in the Westgate.
At Andrews Sports, if you want that, for where you can get the college plays. All right. Alex and I are back on Monday. Chris, you'll be joining us on Monday morning as well at 10 a.m. Of course, this show is back with all 4 of us on Friday at noon. As always, every Friday, Football Frenzy on a Friday. I get the alliteration all the time. You know that. We're back at noon live here on the channel. For our friend Vinny Magliulo, for Chris Andrews, Alex White, I'm Jeff Parles. Shouts to the crew as well. Ryan, Sean, Ann, and Jerry and Vince here today. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you next time on Football Frenzy on a Friday on the Sports by the Book channel here at the South Point studio.